Hey guys, it's Brandon with Craft Quad Cities again. I am continuing my Women in Brewing series featuring all the awesome women that work in the brewing industry here in the Quad Cities area. And I have the pleasure of sitting down today with Debbie Davis. We are at Crawford Brew Works in Bettendorf. You guys are probably familiar with it. Debbie, how you doing?
I'm great.
Awesome, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So basically what we're going to kind of do is just kind of highlight you for a little bit, what you do here at Crawford, talk about how awesome you are, and then end it with kind of like what women are doing in the brewing industry in general, just here in the Quad Cities and in the industry in general. So, What is your position here at Crawford?
I am the general manager of Crawford Brew Works.
General manager?
Yes.
And how long have you been general managing?
Almost 2 years.
2 years?
May will be 2 years, which doesn't even make sense to me anymore.
Okay. So you've been here 2 years, and how long has Crawford been open?
3. It'll be 3 years, a few days after my 2-year anniversary.
Okay. So they celebrated their 1 year anniversary by they're like, hey, we got to bring Debbie in, right?
That is kind of the timeline. I don't know if that was a thought process, but...
So awesome. So you've been here about 2 years, general managing. So what got you interested? I know you were at breweries before Crawford. So think back further before Crawford. What kind of got you interested in going into the brewing industry?
It was way back at Ribco. And I worked a couple of days a week, and back in like 2007, that was where you got the best craft beer in the Quad Cities. They had that bottle cooler, and I fell in love with craft beer there. But during the winter of a live music venue, it's very slow.
Sure.
And at the time, Nick Bose, who is now the president of Bent River, he was a regular customer of mine, and he was like, well, why don't you apply at Bent? And so I started working a couple of days a week at Bent and fell in love with the brew process. So first I fell in love with the beer, and then I fell in love with places that make it. So that's how I got here.
So I guess I didn't realize you were at Bent. I knew you from Radical Days.
Yeah.
Right? So you've been to a few different places.
Yeah. So I worked at I fell in love with craft beer at Ribco, like I said, and then I started at Bent River in 2010 or 11, 2010, because I worked in Moline for a year. And then Bent River Rock Island opened up, and I moved over there in management, and I was there as a manager for a little over a year. And then I got that bottling line, and I was like, you guys really need to have a brand manager to sell your bottles. And they're like, okay, you can do it.
You can do it. You just volunteered.
So then I got that job for a couple years, and being a brand manager is exhausting. I was like traveling all the time, and I wanted to take a step back from everything, and then Radical was looking for a 2-day-a-week bartender, and so I applied, and so I spent 5 years at Bent and 5 years at Radical, and I've been here for 2 almost.
2 years. Wow. So, veteran of the Quad City beer scene, I would say, out of all the women I've talked to so far, you probably have the time in.
At this point in time, I've been a sucker for the community for a long time. Yes.
No, I wouldn't say a sucker. I think that kind of goes to say what the brewing community kind of is. Like it's not like you kind of dabbled in it and like okay, yeah, it's like you enjoy it, you're knowledgeable about it, so you're sticking in it, so that's great. So back to Crawford then, as we're sitting here in the mezz, as you guys like to call it.
We do call it that.
You guys have a lot of events up here as well sometimes.
Well,
yoga.
We did, and we will again.
You know, once when events used to be cool.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
But yeah,
2019.
It's kind of sad this holiday season. Normally we have 3 to 4 holiday parties a week from December to March, and so it's kind of lonely up here right now, but we'll get to it again.
I bet. So what do you do kind of on the daily? I'm sure it's a lot, but you come in and you leave. What do you do in between?
Depends on the day of the week, but I do inventory, payroll, write the schedule, do cleaning. Sometimes I bartend, especially during the slower months. Like, we're very kind of uneven in our business because of the food truck and the patio. So in the summer, we employ like 15, 16 bartenders, and we're packed every night. In the wintertime, we lay off about 10 people, so we're very seasonal. So sometimes during the slow months, I end up picking up bartending shifts too. So just kind of a little bit of everything. Make sure that my staff has all that they need to be successful. I help with some distribution. I work with the ownership on things and goals that they have in mind. Just kind of manage all of the things that need to be done overall.
Make sure the building's still standing, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yes, unlock the building for those who need it, and set up for everyone who needs to be working here.
So, what's your favorite part about it then? What do you enjoy the most about all those things you just said?
I don't know. I love my staff and the people that I get to work with. I have the flexibility to be able to kind of control and pick and choose my schedule. And I overall get to help like build the community of a brewery that is in a overall a pretty great city. I'd never worked in Bettendorf before. I spent 10 plus years in Rock Island, and coming over here, it was a huge culture change. But the people that surround this brewery and support it, it's been fantastic. So I would guess I'd say the people overall. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a good fact. Bettendorf didn't have a brewery up until a few years ago.
Correct.
And now they're at 3,
Mm-hmm.
with another one coming here in a few months, I heard.
Yeah.
So within the course of 3 years, they're gonna have 4 breweries.
Yeah. I mean, I guess technically Adventurous is open.
Also Adventurous. So
They're
I guess
brewing.
he does have a space now, right? So
Yeah, and you can some
there's
days
4
they
now
have,
with a 5th to come. Then.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris. I tend to forget you do have a location now, and
Well, he has intermittent sales days, so.
yes. So yeah, no, that's awesome. So Bettendorf's kind of I don't know, the city that's really building up right now on our breweries. So
Yeah, it was Rock Island a few years ago, and now it's definitely moving towards this side.
yeah, no, for sure.
I think it's cool.
I actually have one of Chris's shirts on today, and here we are. I'm totally spacing over it.
Between the two of us, we got it.
We got it covered. So we're sitting here drinking a couple beers.
We are.
What do you have?
I have the peanut butter porter.
So I thought about grabbing that one. I grabbed the Dunkel.
Yeah, that's a great beer.
Because I hadn't had this one since you guys tapped it. And I'm like, I want something dark today.
I'm a huge fan of that style.
With the peanut border? I just made up a word. The peanut border. And not a peanut butter porter.
Congratulations.
The peanut butter porter. That did cross my mind again. So what's your favorite Crawford beer then? I know you guys make a lot of seasonals. You have some flagships. Do you have a favorite?
End all be all. I would go back and forth between our porter, Cuddle Your Ass Off, and Get Off My Lawn. I know that they're both flagships. We do make great seasonals. I love what our brewer does. But Get Off My Lawn is classic West Coast style IPA, which is probably, it's in my top 3 favorite beer styles of all time. And the porter, I would argue, is one of the best porters that's brewed in the Quad Cities. Really nice, roasty, bitter but not acrid. So I go back and forth just because they're so both well crafted. If I had to pick one, probably Get Off My Lawn.
Yeah. So I'd say that I'm a West Coast style over East Coast styles for IPAs, and Get Off My Lawn is for sure one of my favorite IPA styles here in the Quad Cities. I'm not a huge IPA guy. If I do, like I said, I lean towards West Coast, so I would agree with Get Off My Lawn. But this Dunkel, rather tasty. Hitting the spot today.
And it's not a style that you get to see brewed very often here.
Right. So the peanut butter is a variant of the
Cuddle Your Ass Off,
right?
yeah.
So limited stock of that right now?
Yeah, so this winter I'm doing a one-off weekend, so we tap a different varietal every Saturday at noon. And at first I was like, I don't know if it was going to be that big of a deal, so we just make 1 keg of beer. Let's see how it goes. Those kegs last anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. So, and the peanut butter porter was gone in 3. And that's when I was like, I should probably make more of that. So then we made 6 more kegs of it.
Gotta have a backup thing.
Yeah, well, and I didn't, like I said, and some of them have been not great. I didn't love the blood orange IPA. I didn't like the coconut sour either, but a few weeks ago we did an espresso IPA, and it was fire, and we're going to bring it back again. So it's been kind of a fun way to get people in, but also experiment with new things, too.
Yeah. No, that's great. So, outside of Crawford beers, then, you go to other breweries, not just here in the Quad Cities, but I know I've seen your posts about when you're traveling to Des Moines or wherever you're going to.
Right, yeah.
What might we find in your fridge right now that's from a non-Quad City brewery?
Oh, gosh. I have an Upland raspberry barrel-aged sour that is fantastic. I actually was gifted 2 bottles of it, and I had one last night. And I'm so excited I have another one, so it just has this really great tardiness to it because it was barrel-aged.
Where's that from?
Oakiness. Upland, which is
Upland.
an Indiana brewery.
Okay.
Their sour stuff has been fantastic.
And it's a barrel-aged sour.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I've heard of that.
Yeah, well, that's one of the ways that you can impart bacteria is through the wood.
Okay.
The wood is inoculated and then you barrel age it. I like a lot of stuff from Upland. I always and forever love Barntown. I know I shouldn't. There are a lot of people that think that they bastardize beer styles.
Oh, no.
But their creativity is so phenomenal, and their consistency and carbonation and mouthfeel, I think, is impressive.
Is that over by Des Moines?
Mm-hmm, that's in the Des Moines area. So I usually have some Barntown stuff in my fridge. And I still forever will have Boulevard Wheat, because that's like my number one go-to beer. So I always have that on hand. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So how would you describe, you've obviously been in, like we mentioned, in the industry a while. You've probably had a lot of people come in that have an absolute blank look on their face when they look up at your menu. They say, hey, I'm not really a craft beer drinker. What do you recommend? How do you go about like kind of describing craft beer to someone that really is not into it or is maybe not a fan of it yet?
I don't start from the aspect of beer. I start from the aspect of their palate. So I ask them, what do they enjoy drinking or what do they enjoy eating? You know, I've turned on lots of people who love coffee and chocolate cake onto dark beers because they didn't make the connection that like roasty flavors can go across boards. So I really try and take it from the customer standpoint of what they enjoy ingesting and tasting versus like trying to sell them on something that they're unfamiliar with. So I try and make it familiar to them from their viewpoint. I guess that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, one of the things I love about breweries is you can go anywhere and always just get a sample. You know, they'll pour you an ounce or ounce and a half or something, and you get enough from that smell and taste wise to know pretty much if you're gonna like it or not. You know, benefit of having stuff on tap. You always get that sample. What I love doing is going to a brewery maybe I've never been to before. Sometimes I do it at breweries I've been to many times, and I just get a flight. Because I don't want to sit down. I don't want to dedicate myself to 16 ounces or something. So I'm like, just give me, 4 ounces of 4 or 5 different things. I still love doing flights.
I do too.
So that's a great way to experiment.
Absolutely. It's usually fairly economical too, as far as getting up to like 25 ounces of beer. I like that too. I talk to the bartender a lot too, for their recommendations and their knowledge, because they're the ones that are going to be around that liquid more than you are. So that's always nice too, assuming that they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I've always appreciated that when, back when I first started kind of drinking craft beer, I would ask those questions all the time. I'd be like, what's something lighter? What's something that's going to be like not just blast my taste buds with something I'm not going to be familiar with? And everybody's always been super knowledgeable, helpful on making recommendations. I find that women have always kind of been really descriptive on a lot of stuff where you go into, it's like they really give you a lot of information and details is what I've kind of found out on just the way they deliver that message sometimes. It's like awesome. And now I sit back, now I'm a lot more familiar with a lot of beers now, and I sit back and I still hear other people walk up to the bar and ask that question. And I always try to listen in just to see what that server or whatever's going to say.
Me too.
And it's like, all right, what are they going to say here? Are they going to compare it to, Bud Light? Because that's a person walks in and says, well, I'm a Bud Light or I'm a Busch Light drinker. And they're going to say, oh, yeah, this one's going to be the closest thing to your Busch Light.
Well, I think most breweries now at this point in time are prepared for that and have like, we have our kind of cultures to be like, to answer that response. But we do always keep at least one domestic in stock because at the end of the day, you got to respect history, whether it's well-crafted cask ales or fizzy, mass-produced lagers, thanks to post-prohibition.
Yes.
That's all part of the game.
For sure. Awesome. So everything we talked about so far is just kind of get to know you a little bit, how you came in the industry, what you do in the industry since then. So shift to the side of you as a woman in the industry and women in general now. Here in the Quad Cities area and even around the country, what kind of impact do you think women will have going forward? Because it's currently, a minority group that's growing in popularity, not just in working in the industry, but also craft beer drinkers of being female.
Well, I think historically women have been part of brewing beer since beer became a thing.
Oh, for sure.
I think nowadays there are definitely more breweries that are owned by women. The Pink Boot Society is encouraging women to build this network and find educational resources amongst one another and by the books or on the internet with webinars and whatnot. So there's a lot of ways to educate yourself with that gender hue attached to it too, which is kind of nice because I know when I first started at a brewery and when I still to this day talk to people about beer, there are some men that don't think that I know as much as they do, or that it's not possible, or that maybe I don't have as much experience as they do. And I think that the more that we band together and work and grow that education with them as well as amongst ourselves, it's going to continue to make it more equal. I think women are great because we do have really good palates. We're very good at communicating, and I think that we're really great at organizing and planning things. So I think that...
keep it running.
Yeah, we're going to keep it running, and we're going to make it more inclusive.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you're definitely one of the women that's making an impact and a difference here in the Quad Cities brewer scene. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Again, we're doing the Women in Brewing series, so you'll find all these segments on my website, craftqc.com, as well as teasers on our social channels. So to see Debbie's episode and others, keep following us. And cheers.
Cheers to you, sir.
Thanks, guys. That was it.
Fun.